Apollo 11, this is Houston, over.
Roger, go ahead, Houston, Apollo 11.
11, this is Houston. You are go for LOI, over.
Sure, go for LOI.
Apollo 11, this is Houston. All your systems are looking good going around the corner. We'll see you on the other side, over.
Roger. Everything looks okay up here.
Roger, out.
And we've had loss of signal as Apollo 11 goes behind the moon. Madrid AOS. Madrid AOS.
Reading you loud and clear, Houston, LOI.
Roger, reading you the same now. Could you repeat your burn status report? We copied the residuals and burn time, and that was about it. Send the whole thing again, please.
It was right perfect. Your delta peak 0, burn time 557. CAD values on the angle, VGX minus 0.1, VGY minus 0.1, VGZ plus 0.1, no trim, minus 6.8 on delta PC. Fuel was 38.8, Mach 39.0, plus 50 unbalanced. We ran an increase on the plug. Noun 44 showed us 60.9 by 169.9.
Roger, we copy your burn status report. So we're getting a beautiful picture in down here now, 11. The color's coming in quite clearly, and we can see the horizon and the relative blackness of space. And without getting into the question of grays and browns, it looks, at least on our monitor, sort of a brownish gray.
It appears to me as though it made a difference just sitting back in the tunnel and gazing at all windows. It makes a difference which one you're looking out of. For example, the camera right now is looking out the number 5 window, and it definitely gives a rosier or tanner tinge, especially when you look straight through it and not at an angle. Over.
Roger.
Yeah, the crater that's in the center of the screen now is Webb. We'd be looking straight down on it at about 6 minutes before power descent. It has a relatively flat bottom to the crater, and you can see maybe 2 or 3 craters that are in the bottom of it. On the western wall, the wall that's now nearest to the camera, or near the bottom of the screen, we can see a dimple crater just on the outside. And then coming back toward the bottom of the screen and to the left, you can see a series of depressions. It's this type of connected craters that give us most interest to discover why they're in the particular patterns that they're in. I'll zoom the camera in and try and give you a little closer look at this.
Roger, we're observing the dimple crater now. The central peak that we can see on the orbiter photos doesn't seem to stand out very well here.
Well, they're not central peaks, they're depressions in the center.
Roger.
Eagle, Houston, we looked good through the 210 on this mode. We're going to shift data select to an 85-foot dish to see what we got, and then we'll be back through to you on the 210. If you'll stand by a couple of minutes in this mode, we'll be back with you, over. Roger, Eagle, standing by.
This is Apollo Control, Houston, 83 hours, 21 minutes now into the flight. Meanwhile, aboard the Eagle, apparently Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong, although Buzz is doing most of the comm check at this time.
Eagle, Houston, how do you read? Over.
Houston Eagle, read you loud and clear, over.
Roger, we're reading you 5 by. We got the voice good through the 85. The telemetry is in and out through the 85. Stand by, we'll be back to you with you through the 210, over. Eagle, Houston, you can go step 5 now. We'd like low bit rate, over.
Houston Eagle, you have low bit rate.
Roger, copy, Eagle.
Yeah.
Eagle, Houston, could you give me a short count, this mode, over?
Houston, this is Eagle with a short count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Eagle, over.
Roger, Eagle, you're 5 by. This S-band voice is really beautiful, over. And Eagle, Houston, we'll be standing by in this mode for a minute or so. We'll be back with you if you'll just stand by, over.
Roger.
Eagle, this is Houston, coming through the 210. How do you read, over?
Roger, read you loud and clear.
Eagle, this is Houston. We're happy with all our data in all modes. You can power down the comm now, over.
Roger, understand. Eagle will power down the comm. And we're just approaching 27 volts now. It looks like we won't have to bother with the high taps.
Right.
Powering down, out.
Roger, copy, out. Houston, we got a TEI 11 pad for you. And an update on the water dump, over.
Stand by when you. Are you sure it's 50?
That's firm, over.
Okay.
This is Apollo Control, Houston, 83 hours, 27 minutes now into the flight, Apollo 11. That last exchange between Charlie Duke, our capsule communicator, and Buzz Aldrin aboard the Eagle, identifying that we're very well satisfied with the communications check on the lunar module, and we'll proceed with powering down the spacecraft. At 83 hours, 27 minutes, we now read an altitude of 54.3 nautical miles, a velocity of 5,376 feet per second. And this is Apollo Control, Houston.
Houston, Columbia, ready to copy TEI 11, over.
Roger. Columbia, here we come with the TEI 11. SPS BNN 37200 minus 060 plus 047. Down 33. 0, Niner 8. 05. 2422. Plus 41448. Plus 03719. Minus 02422. Roll is NA. Pitch 020. Rest of the pad is NA. Set stars are NA. The ullage is 2 quads, correction, 2 jets for 16 seconds. Use Bravo and Delta. In a comment, the undocked present CSM, correction, this is for PEI-11, is undocked present onboard weight of the CSM is 37200 pounds, about 50 alpha in your DAP, over.
All right, I read back. PEI-11, SPS GNN 37200, minus 060, plus 047, plus 098, 052422, plus 41448, plus 03719, minus 02422. NA 020, rest of pad NA, ullage 2 jet for 16 seconds, quad B and D. Undocked. Present CSM weight is okay in the depth.
Roger, 11. And we'd like you to do a wastewater dump at 84 hours down to 25%. Over.
Roger, understand. Wastewater dump to 25% at 84 hours.
Roger. And Mike will have LOS in about 11 minutes at 8344. AOS is 8430, and prior to, or at LOS, we would like you to go configure the S-band for high gain tracks to react, high gain beam to narrow. And let's try that to see if we can get an automatic react at the next AOS. Over.
All right, good idea.
That was Mike Collins aboard Columbia, taking down a maneuver pad.
Right. Apollo 11, Houston, also that water that you got on the aft bulkhead, if it's not too much, we just recommend sopping it up and then throwing the sponges away in the waste storage area. If it's too much, then we recommend using the procedure in the checklist on page F10-14. Over.
All right, thank you.
This is Apollo Control Houston, 83 hours, 34 minutes now into the flight, Apollo 11. The lunar module communications has been deactivated. We currently show a velocity of 5,377 feet per second. Our orbital parameters now read 65.1 nautical miles apoloon, 54.2 nautical miles paraloon. At 84 hours, 35 minutes, continuing to follow. This is Apollo Control, Houston.
Apollo 11, Houston, would you have Buzz make sure he gives us the ops pressure readings before you close up? Over. Will do.
Houston 11, the OPS has reached 5750, both bottles.
Roger.
This is Apollo Control, Houston, 83 hours, 38 minutes. Apollo 11 now on CSM power. This is Apollo Control, Houston, 83 hours, 40 minutes. Now into the flight Apollo 11. We're less than 4 minutes away now from time of loss of signal with the Apollo 11 spacecraft. Present time, our velocity reading 5,375 feet per second. Our total weight in orbit at this time reading 70,502 pounds. Our orbital parameters, apolloon 65.1 nautical miles, paraloon 54.2 nautical miles. This is Apollo Control, Houston. This is Apollo Control, Houston, at 83 hours, 43 minutes now into the flight Apollo 11, less than a minute away from predicted time of loss of signal with the Apollo 11 spacecraft. We expect the next time we acquire Apollo 11, its crew, Neil Armstrong, Mike Collins, Buzz Aldrin, will have begun their rest period. And at 83 hours, 43 minutes, this is Apollo Control, Houston. Eleven has passed out of range with the ground, traversing now over the far side of the moon. During this pass, we had an extremely successful communications checkout with the lunar module, using its code name for the first time, its code name the Eagle. Buzz Aldrin performed the counting tasks in concert with Charlie Duke, the capsule communicator here on the ground. And at times, Buzz's voice, we noted considerable enthusiasm for the way things are going. And at times, Charlie Duke shared that enthusiasm. And its maiden checkout in communications, the lunar module Eagle, looked good. At 83 hours, 45 minutes, this is Apollo Control, Houston. This is Apollo Control, Houston, at 84 hours and 28 minutes, now into the flight Apollo 11. We're less than 2 minutes away now from our scheduled time of acquisition with Apollo 11. Meanwhile, in Mission Control Center, astronaut Owen Garriott has now replaced Charlie Duke as our capsule communicator. We expect that some final advisories will be passed to the Apollo 11 crew, and final reports such as crew status will be received from Neil Armstrong, Mike Collins, and Buzz Aldrin prior to the start of their sleep period. We're a little over a minute away now from scheduled time of acquisition. We'll continue to keep the line up and continue to monitor. This is Apollo Control, Houston. Mark 30 seconds now from time of scheduled acquisition. Mark 20 seconds. 10 seconds. We should be acquiring shortly, and we're standing by. We have data. We've acquired data on Apollo 11. This is Apollo Control Houston. Owen Garriott getting ready to place a call.
Over.
Apollo 11.
11 Houston, Roger, reading you fine, and it looks like the automatic react went very well just as soon as you came around the limb. We have several small items to discuss with you here just before you go to sleep. Over.
Go ahead, Owen.
Okay, 11. First of all, on our LEM systems checks, everything went fine. Would like to remind you, though, tomorrow you may see an ascent pressure light when you activate the MC and W. There should be no problem there, however. You did note that the ox tank pressure was only reading 111 psi, which is normal at this point. But below the level which will trigger your light due to the helium which has been dissolved into the propellant. Over.
Roger, I understand that. Thank you.
Roger, and next item, the supercritical helium rise rate is nominal, and you also had questions for us about your thruster activity during the P-22 on the last rev. I believe we understand that now. As you reported, your pitch was in Excel command and your yaw and roll were in rate command. As you were firing your pitch thrusters, this will couple rates into your yaw and roll axes, and you were at that time holding only half a degree deadband, and coupling rates into yaw and roll produced the extra firings about the yaw and roll axes. Over.
Yeah, that may be true. It's very peculiar coupling in that it waits longer than you would think, and its reaction is greater than you would think. We were getting yaw rates of around 0.4 of a degree per second, for example.
Roger, Mike. We did play the data back, and that's the way it looked upon analysis of the chart recordings back here. Over.
Okay, fine.
They've also looked at the results of your landmark tracking. The marks all apparently were very good, and we've got a full page of data here relative to the altitudes of the various site locations, which I won't read up to you, but did want to let you know that the marks apparently went very well. I also have your consumable budgets, particularly your RCS propellant quantities. They're deltas from nominal if you should want them. Your worst quad is quad Charlie, which is 9% low. I'll not read up the others unless you want them. Over.
Okay, how about the O2 fuel cell purge? You want that now?
I'll have to stand by just a moment.
Okay, and then the other one is we're still charging battery A.
11 Houston, we would like to delay the fuel cell purge until the backside of the moon, and you go ahead and should terminate your battery charge at this time, over.
Okay, I understand. I knew we had another O2 and H2 purge coming up in the morning. I wasn't sure whether you wanted to go through with this one or not. I'll wait until the backside and then do it.
That's fine, Buzz.
Terminate battery charging now.
That's right, and one other systems item here. In order to balance your cryo tanks, would you get your O2 tank 1 and your H2 tank 2 heaters off, over? Okay, I have O2 tank heater 1 off and H2 tank heater 2 off. That's right, Mike, and we believe you have your quad Bravo and quad Charlie turned off in your DAP at this time in a 5-degree deadband. We'd prefer a 10-degree deadband for your sleep period overnight here, over. Okay. One other item relative to a malfunction procedure. It's unlikely that you'll have to worry about this tomorrow, but in your malfunction list under docking on page F11-9, there is a malfunction procedure for a high O2 flow rate at the top of, under tunnel, at the top of page 11-9. We would like to have you not use that malfunction procedure should you encounter the high O2 flow rate, and instead check back with Houston for a revised procedure should you find that situation, over.
Understand and notice and made my checklist.
Uh, 11 Houston, roger. That just about takes care of all the items we have here on the ground before time to hit the FEC. And I guess you will have a pre-sleep check for us before you go to bed.
Right, we're in the midst of cycling the O2 and H2 fans now.
Roger.
And the radiation is as follows. CDR 11012, CFD 10013, LMP 09015. Negative medication, over.
Roger, copy 11. This is Apollo Control, Houston. 84 hours, 39 minutes now into the flight. That conversational exchange with Owen Garriott here in Mission Control Center and principally Buzz Aldrin. However, Mike Collins did talk briefly about Program 22, the landmark tracking activity in which he performed. At 84 hours, 40 minutes, this is Apollo Control, Houston.
Houston, Apollo 11.
11, Houston, go ahead.
All right, we're thinking about taking the monocular with us on into the LEM. We think it might prove to be of some use, over.
Roger, Buzz. It sounds like a good idea for some of your surveying work there inside the cockpit, over.
Okay, you want to run that by whoever might be concerned?
Sure will.
This is Apollo Control, Houston, 84 hours, 44 minutes, and now into the flight Apollo 11. Our current spacecraft altitude, now 64.3 nautical miles, with an apoloon of 65.2 nautical miles, paraloon 54.4 nautical miles. We show an orbital period of 1 hour, 58 minutes, 40 seconds on our displays. Current weight of the spacecraft in orbit, 70,502 pounds. At 84 hours, 44 minutes, continuing to monitor. This is Apollo Control, Houston. This is Apollo Control, Houston, 84 hours, 48 minutes, now into the flight. We're receiving noisy data at this time. We have requested Apollo 11 to give us a manual relock. Standing by at 84 hours, 49 minutes. This is Apollo Control, Houston.
Houston, Apollo 11, how do you hear it now?
11, Houston, loud and clear this time. How many?
Loud and clear. You faded out on your last transmission, over.
Roger, are you in wide beam now?
Negative, I got you locked back on again, reacting now.
Roger, that's what we want. We want to stay in narrow, and we're a little puzzled about why we lost you here a few minutes ago. Do you have any ideas?
Oh, sure do. We're showing about 15 degrees plus pitch and about 270. That ought to be good and clear.
We concur there. We still don't have any good ideas on why we were lost. Houston, would you confirm that we did acquire automatically when you came around the limb for this passage, over?
That's confirmed.
Thank you.
This is Apollo Control, Houston, 84 hours, 56 minutes now into the flight, Apollo 11. Our current apolloon, 65.1 nautical miles, current paraloon, 54.3 nautical miles. After receiving some noisy signal, Apollo 11 has locked back on in fine form. That was Buzz Aldrin speaking with Owen Garrett here in the Mission Control Center. I expect we will take a second look at why we had to lock on manually. As we receive any updates on this, we'll pass them along. We now read 84 hours, 57 minutes. And this is Apollo Control, Houston.
Apollo 11, Houston, over.
Houston, Apollo 11.
11, Houston, on your auto RCS select switches, we show Quad Bravo disabled, but Quad Charlie only partially disabled. Charlie 3, I believe, is the only one you have selected off. Is that correct?
All right, that's correct.
This is Apollo Control, Houston, 85 hours, 5 minutes now into the flight, Apollo 11. We confirm from the ground following that conversational exchange. As was pointed out...
We see them all disabled at this time. Thank you.
As was pointed out, RCS Quad Charlie is now disabled following that conversational exchange between Owen Garrett and Buzz Aldrin. Buzz, the lunar module pilot, apparently quite obviously still awake. 85 hours, 7 minutes now into the flight, Apollo 11, continuing to monitor. This is Apollo Control, Houston.
Apollo 11, Houston, over.
Go ahead, Houston.
11, Houston, we're going to try to check out this ability to automatically reacquire on the S-band. And what we want to do is to secure our uplink carrier for about 30 seconds. Then we will turn it back on and see if the spacecraft equipment will automatically reacquire. So if you do not get a call from us within about 3 minutes, that means we have not been able to reacquire, and request your assistance on a manual acquisition. Over.
Okay, we understand.
11 Houston, we also appreciate if you will note the angles that the antenna tracks through in its attempt to reacquire. Over.
Roger, we'll do that.
Uh, 11 Houston, it looks like we're locked back up again with no delay. How does it look on board? Over.
Roger, the signal strength dropped very rapidly to 0, and the pitch and yaw in about 3 seconds moved toward 40 degrees pitch and 240 degrees yaw. Right now, they're setting on about 15 degrees pitch and about 265 degrees yaw. So they didn't move very far, about 30 degrees apiece. And then they picked right back on up again. Over.
Roger. Some of the luckiest people in the background there. We copied your pitch and yaw angles. Houston, could you give us the location of your pitch and yaw location of your position indicators, over?
Roger, they're the same position as the antenna right now, plus 15 degrees pitch and now, wait a minute, I got it at about 75 instead of 265.
Okay, thank you. Houston, we'd like to try the same procedure once more. We'll leave the carrier off a little longer and be back up for a call within 4 minutes, over.
Okay.
This is Apollo Control, Houston, 85 hours, 17 minutes now into the flight Apollo 11. What you heard in the conversation between Owen Garrett and Buzz Aldrin was following a communications check in which we secured the uplink carrier for some 30 seconds and waited a given period of time, approximately 3 minutes, to see if the spacecraft would reacquire. We appeared to reacquire in fine form on this first test. We will repeat it, this test a second time, delaying approximately 4 minutes before we place a call to Apollo 11. At 85 hours, 17 minutes, we currently read an altitude, spacecraft altitude of 56.1 nautical miles. Present velocity shows 5,367 feet per second. An apolloon 65 nautical miles, paraloon 54.4 nautical miles. Present weight in orbit remains a static 70,502 pounds. Present time in orbit, as shown on our displays, 1 hour, 58 minutes, 40 seconds. This is Apollo Control, Houston.
This concludes our Apollo 11 audio for now. I'm going to move DWARF from the east wing to the west wing, so it will look at the Corona Borealis while Stellina goes down the list of nebula. My main purpose tonight is to test Stellina's ability to image nebula using its dual band filter in the presence of a full moon, 97% moon. So all the targets are going to be to the northeast, while the moon is to the south primarily. So TCRB has not exploded yet. Bill, I just sent you a link to Google Meet in case you want audio. I'm pulling it up as we speak. You are live whenever you want it. In the meantime, I'm going to relocate DWARF. I am surprised that Stellina is not executing the plan by night as expected. Okay. We'll give it a couple more minutes just in case. Otherwise, as soon as DWARF is on TCRB, we'll take Stellina off TCRB. Stellina was able to put Corona Borealis in the middle of the frame, which is nice. Okay, success. Function Atlas. Strange, okay. If I recall correctly, this should be Corona Borealis T. Yep. Okay, go. Okay. Yeah, that's what I was trying to do with Stellina. Let me show you. This is now. And it was supposed to start automatically. And I had the 4 objects planned, but right now this one will have to move it. Let's move it to 953 and see if it'll do it. Modify. Save. Okay. Start plan. Ah. That's what was missing. I did not click the start plan. Hi, Jacob. I hope you are feeling better. Okay, the plan has kicked in and it should be going to the Crescent Nebula as the first stop. Sorry to hear that. Yes, if you use Kai Young's program, the Seestar Alp with Bruno, it'll allow you to program a sequence of captures that way. Both Dwarf and Seestar allow me to tinker with the settings of the image as it's being stacked. Stellina does not. Jacob, is the front end part of the Seestar Alp or is it somebody else's? I need to look into that. I have not used it or seen it before. Okay, I will watch Kai's video. Thank you. Okay, I found it. With a bit of luck, Stellina should hop automatically from Crescent to Cocoon, and then it's half hour per target for now. It will be done just before midnight. tomorrow night, in addition to the Apollo celebration, Apollo 11, we have an incredibly good International Space Station pass. Looking forward to that one. Yes, that is correct. DWARF is keeping an eye on TCRB, and that's about it. And Stellina is going to be working on the nebula. Yes, thank you. I take a few things for granted. Okay, looks like we may have had a plane that went through either that or a blue satellite. There was no blinking, so could have been a blue satellite. Well, we mentioned CrowdStrike earlier this evening. Unfortunately, the whole concept of cybersecurity misses the point, what I refer to as the +1 fallacy. They think that by adding things they make them more secure, when in reality, that +1, the adding things, increases the risk and makes them a lot less secure. I still remember Elon Musk's obsession with reducing parts count to increase reliability. And by adding CrowdStrike to every single computer in a corporation, you're running the risk of that +1. If it fails or anything goes wrong with it, everything goes down, and that's what happened today. Now, never mind the fact that it doesn't work. David Hume in 1781, was it? I'm unable to find the exact year, but it was in the 1700s when David Hume said that the past does not necessarily predict the future. No, actually, it was triggered by a CrowdStrike update to Microsoft-based machines. David Hume said there can be no demonstrable argument to prove that instances of which we have no experience resemble those of which we have had experience. And unfortunately, every single virus scanner, intrusion detection system, endpoint production violates the Hume induction problem, and that's why they don't work. The assumption of building a system that relies on the past to predict the future has failed. Dorothy Dennings in 1983 introduced the first intrusion detection system at the Naval Postgraduate School, and that was 41 years ago. It did not work then, it does not work now, it never worked in between, yet somehow it has become a multi-billion-dollar industry with CrowdStrike and Palo Alto and McAfee and Norton, and the list goes on and on. No need to retract the message. Yeah, I agree. Hume was an amazing philosopher, and for him to predict 300 years ago what happened today is nothing short of amazing. This will not be the last time, by the way, and everybody who said it was not a cyber attack, my only question to them is, how do you know? And that's where mistaking absence of evidence for evidence of absence. So the Crescent Nebula is starting to take shape. I think Stellina has another 10 minutes or so on the Crescent before moving on to Cocoon. For some reason it seems to have stopped. It says waiting for the next observation. Okay, transitioned a bit soon. Yeah, the problem with Norton is it was very good at detecting malware for which it had signatures, which is a fraction of what's out there. And it'll always fail at detecting, let alone preventing, the next virus. And there is another problem with all those virus scanners and endpoint protection. They operate at the wrong layer of the TCP/IP protocol. And that's why they miss the great majority of the threats because they occur at a different layer. Okay, we have the Cocoon. It started. Stellina recommends 2 hours on each of these targets. We're just doing half an hour per target. Did you see the picture from any of the airports, really the big airports, with the blue screen on the big monitors everywhere in the airport? Yes, I did. They were waiting to decide whether to go with A or C, and definitely eliminated B. Yeah, blue screen of death. I saw a picture of from O'Hare, Chicago. All the monitors were blue screen of death. Apparently Southwest was not impacted because they are not using the latest versions of Windows. They do not have CrowdStrike on their machines. Hi, Stephen. Yeah, we were on the moon for a while. The first hour or so of this stream was on the moon. We'll be back on the moon all night tomorrow night, celebrating Apollo 11 55 years. Well, there are a couple of airlines in the country like Alaska and Southwest that are exclusively Boeing, and you run the risk of homogeneity. If something goes wrong, your entire fleet is grounded, and this is where the bigger airlines have a diversity. And you run the same problem with computers. If every computer in the organization is running Windows with the same endpoint protection, you're running the risk that if anything goes wrong, that your SOL, which is what happened today. Alright, TCRB has drifted, and I'd like to bring it back. I do not believe it was a software glitch, but that's not the point. Whether it was accidental or intentional, the same consequence occurred, and that's the problem. Stephen, at the end of the day, it does not matter if it was accidental or intentional. The mission failed, and their job is to make sure that the mission does not fail. This is where we talk about Byzantine behaviors or Byzantine failure. In the event of a Byzantine failure, the cause is immaterial. It's the effect that you're focused on or worried about. Because anybody who says it was not a cyber attack is mistaking the absence of evidence with evidence of absence. Given the size of the software involved and the complexity, there is no way they can ever prove that the tinkering that happened was accidental and not malicious. Bill, I spent the past 30 years preaching these words. Someday we can have a lengthy conversation about the idiocy from Boeing and the defense establishment wanting to put endpoint protection on the buses of the aircraft so they can detect bad behavior. Now just imagine you're in the middle of a flight and your flight computers decide to do a blue screen of death. I think there's a small problem there. And whoever in Delta or JP Morgan Chase or you name it, whoever made the decision to deploy that software without testing it first should be whatever, fired, court-martialed, shot, you name it. This is a strange culture where we no longer test before you deploy. We deploy and then close our eyes, plug our ears, and hope nothing happens. I can assure you that absolutely nobody tested the impact of the CrowdStrike software acting in a Byzantine manner, the impact on the mission. And another big challenge that we could not get folks, senior leadership to understand. I'm not worried about what happens when a computer dies. Triply redundant systems will survive a failure of one machine. I worried a lot more about what happens when a computer lies. If you're missing data, you know it. If you have wrong data, you do not know it. Stephen, they hook them to the internet for convenience because they are lazy and they want to do the work from home or from wherever. The whole concept of smart grid and smart meters is dumb at best. In the meantime, looking outside my window, I see the International Space Station. There are two hands waving from it. I wonder who they are. Bill, I'm gonna push you in a slightly different direction. It was not checked, it was not only checked, actually, it was built formally. A computer program is nothing more than an instantiation of a mathematical formula, and there was a lot of formal specification of that code as well as verification. The other big issue with planes and spacecraft is at the altitude at which you guys fly, you are suffering a lot more radiation, and the danger of a bit flip from 1 to 0 in a transistor is a lot higher at altitude. So we found ourselves building bigger transistors, much bigger transistors, for things that fly, whether it's on planes or on spacecraft. That reduces the likelihood of a bit flip, or when radiation hits the chips, they are less likely to induce enough current to cause that bit flip. With that in mind, that resulted in a much simpler programming language. The AMP5 and the AMP-FV that Rockwell Collins developed specifically for flight systems. So instead of having an instruction set with 2,000 or 3,000 instructions, they built an instruction set with far fewer instructions. So now the ability to verify the code and check it and make sure it cannot go into states that are not intended, that ability has become doable because you only have so many instructions, and as a finite state machine, there are only so many states it can get into. So simplifying as opposed to increasing the complexity, that's what allowed fly-by-wire and the space shuttle and so on. Stephen, we were debating the other night whether the FAA has any jurisdiction on what happens in outer space. I think the FAA is overreaching here because stage 2 separation was nowhere within the airspace where any aircraft could be impacted. I don't know if tomorrow's audio of Apollo 11 will take us through the computer crash that occurred during the final approach. Yep. Now the Boeing 787 was the first aircraft that was built with the redundancy, not so much if a computer fails, but redundancy, what happens if a computer goes Byzantine or goes berserk and starts spewing wrong stuff. It was an interesting departure, remembering that Airbus were the first folks to do formal verification of the code and building that envelope outside of which the pilot could not take the plane. I mentioned to you a while back the book Fly-by-Wire that recalled the landing on the Hudson, and it was a detailed comparison between the Airbus engineering approach and the Boeing engineering approach to building planes and the role of the pilot relative to the plane. In Boeing's case, pilot had final say and total control of the plane. Yep. In the case of Airbus, there were certain flight laws that the pilot could not violate. I don't know if you remember the B-52, I think it was B-52 that crashed during an air show when the pilot decided to fly it sideways and there was not enough lift and it went crashing. Apparently Airbus does not allow a pilot to fly the plane sideways. Yes. Another satellite that went through. Sully, when he hit the birds, according to the transcript, the very first thing he did was telling the first officer, my aircraft or my plane. And the second thing that he did was to turn on the backup generator to make sure that the computers had power. He knew that the computers will make sure that the plane will not stall. And his job was to find a place then to bring it down. He was a Boeing all-around person flying Airbus, not for the first time, but he had been yeah. Yeah, after he testified to Congress, Airbus complained that he did not give the aircraft enough credit. And the rhetorical question was, if he had been flying a Boeing, would he have been able to land it in the circumstances? And the answer is absolutely yes. But the subtlety between the two aircraft was not discussed during the congressional testimony or the hearings. Yeah, these are not so subtle differences. Bill, I am sure you remember Air France Flight 447. Apparently, similar situations occurred on similar aircraft Yeah, apparently Northwest Airlines had these aircraft and pitot tubes froze, got the same error messages, but the pilots overruled the flight control system and said, no, we are not stalling, sit down in color or whatever. I'm sure you would be aware of these, but that was not the first time that the pitot tubes in flying through storms had given erroneous readings. And Northwest was mentioned specifically that that exact situation had occurred 3 times, but the pilots handled it because that's part of your training, guys. You were not sitting in the back drinking or whatever. In my previous job, I received formal schooling as an accident investigation board president, and we had to learn all those cases one at a time. Not just planes, trains, and automobiles, but pretty much anything and everything that could cause loss of life or extreme loss of property. Congress required Class A investigations anytime there is a loss of limb, loss of life, or material losses exceeding. The amount used to be $1 million, but it varies. So I was one of those people who took that training, schooling, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. The Cocoon Nebula is starting to look nice. We should be approaching the time of switching to the Elephant's Trunk and then to the Iris Nebula. These are, all of these I have done many times before with Seestar. Stellina seems to be doing very well with a full moon nearby. Bill, did you have to take CRM training, crew resource management? I took a condensed version of CRM. It is definitely really good stuff. Interesting. I wonder if the Avianca flight 052 was before or after the introduction of CRM. Yes. All right, Stellina has successfully switched from Cocoon Nebula to Elephant's Trunk. And TCRB still has not exploded. Yeah, I was thinking of the Avianca, the Colombian one that crashed in New York City, ran out of fuel. Let's see how well the elephant's trunk will come up. In the meantime, we have 2 astronauts still stuck on the International Space Station because Boeing cannot bring them home. Since TCRB is drifting left, I decided to pick a star that is farther to the left. This way we will not have to keep chasing it. Yeah, I saw that. The good news is we can test integrated circuits with radiation inside microwave ovens or similar devices and make sure they will do the job. Saturn should be coming up any minute now. Once Stellina is done with the 4 nebula, we'll give it a chance to see if it can find Saturn and how well it displays it. When I first got Stellina, it did an incredibly good capture of Jupiter and Saturn. I mean, the details were just unbelievable. And that was the only time. Since then, they have not been able to get their firmware right. DWARF is West Wing. That's where TCRB is. And Stellina is downstairs on the patio, sitting on a table right next to the big dome. So it is as low as it gets. It's too heavy for any perch. It's 24 pounds. Unlike Seestar, which I have operated from a window, literally from inside the window, Stellina needs a lot of space to calibrate. Of the three smart scopes, Seestar is the only one that does not need to calibrate or initialize. It just assumes it's starting from due north, goes to where it thinks the target should be, takes a picture, plate solves it, and based on that moves to the target if it needs to perform a correction. Yeah, Stellina is very heavy. Stellina's weight is the reason I bought personal effects insurance on all my telescopes, because I feared stepping out the door to the patio in winter and slipping and dropping that thing. So Stellina will do a full 360-degree turn for no reason to initialize or to look for targets, which makes it not suitable to sit inside an office or a bedroom and look out of the window. DWARF, you have seen how DWARF calibrates. It just needs to be able to take 3 pictures in a row at only a few degrees apart. Yeah, Stellina needs its space and it needs terra firma. This is why when DWARF 2 came out, it was 1/10 the weight and 1/10 the price of Stellina. It is debatable whether the unistellar equinox can be considered a smart telescope to the same extent as Stellina, but unistellar came out before Stellina. Unistellar equinox has many of the things that Stellina does, but not all. For a starter, it did not have autofocus. The focus was only manual. No, I don't have it. Could never bring myself to get an equinox. The big turn off for me is the focus. I really cannot operate it remotely if I need to manually focus by turning a knob in the back. The automation was another big issue with it. Don't know to what extent it does the same, the stacking or the rotation, field rotation correction. Incidentally, none of the smart telescopes rotates the sensor the way Stellina does. Stellina's smart algorithm will rotate the sensor with the rotation of the Earth depending on the target, so there never is an issue with field rotation. Yes, I got Stellina October 2021, and then DWARF the following spring, and then Seestar the following year. Elephant's trunk has stopped stacking. No, it's still stacking. Okay, let's see what's going on. Okay. When I looked at Stellina and what it does and tried to add up what it would cost me to build the same hardware, never mind the software, it would have ended up more than $4,000 easily. Tripod, mount, scope, dew heater, autofocuser, sensor derotator, and the software was very revolutionary at the time. Zena dropped in earlier today to let me know that she looks forward to talking to you on Saturday. I said, okay. Yeah, they say it's going to be about a year or so. Yeah, I think that's what they said. They will give us an update first thing on Monday noon. I just stumbled upon Staples, the Lenovo Think Center mini PC that they are selling at $119, $120. It's a full-blown computer with Windows 11 Pro, 8 gigabyte RAM, 120 gigabyte solid-state drive. If you need a computer or a computer to control your telescopes, plus this one has an awful lot of USB ports. Here you go. The elephant's trunk is not showing up. Microsoft Surface, yep. Yeah, I found the RAM to be the primary requirement for high-speed captures, whether it is planets or the International Space Station. Yeah, my laptop tries updating to Windows, goes through the whole update process and then says undoing the changes and repeats it every few days. It's 23H2. That it's refusing to install. It goes through the full installation and then says undoing all changes. And then the following day says Windows 11 23H2 available, pending restart. Okay. So the code for Starry Night worked correctly, I take it. Yeah, I'm waiting for them to want to release 24H2. I don't know if 24H2 will supersede 23H2 or not. My experience with Microsoft is it does not matter how esoteric the problem is. If I type in Google the description, I discover that lots of people have the same problem. Good. Yeah, other than the hardware control that Starry Night attempts to do, Other than that, it is very, very good piece of software. Breaking news that I'm trying to confirm: DWARF Lab has discontinued DWARF 2. Yep. DWARF Lab has discontinued the DWARF 2. It is on their website and it says discontinued. We have these as well. Iris Nebula. And they reduced the price of Dwarf 3 till the end of the month. Yeah, Vaonis has still not discontinued Stellina. Although they don't build them anymore, they don't sell them anymore. And we have the Iris Nebula started. So Dwarf 3 is confirming that it will have 3 filters, 3 built-in filters internal. A visual that covers 430 to 650 nanometers for daytime photography. And I'd like to add here for galaxies as well. An astro filter that includes the infrared and then the dual band filter. Yes, YouTube is storing a video of everything that we're seeing. So we have a video. All I have to do is download it from YouTube, and I can easily crop the area that has TCRB in it. That's what I use PIP for, PIPP, to extract a piece of a video. Yep, very doable. Looking at the Iris Nebula, it's amazing how much dust there is blocking any light from coming through in the vicinity of the big star in the middle. The weather forecast for tomorrow, Astrospheric right now, says we can see the moon, but we cannot see the International Space Station. They have the ability to change it 4 more times before the ISS tomorrow. What time does the moon rise tomorrow? Yeah, moon rises at 9. Okay, let's see what CrB is gonna do. By mid-September, it will still be high enough due west. It'll be still above 40 degrees, so I can still see it from my west wing. And then it starts descending. By the time it's no longer observable from here, I'm hoping I will have my new location, the future home, to image it from. But we should be good through the end of September from here. Not all night, but definitely being able to peek at it every night. So the Rubin 2024 conference, they sent us 5 emails. Useful info part 1, part 2, part 3. that I will probably read Monday just before noon. Tomorrow's Apollo 11 coverage starts with the Eagle descending, leaving Apollo 11 and descending towards the moon. For Ruben, yes. I tried attending the virtual meeting that they had, but did not get much from it. The Iris Nebula is a target to revisit with Stellina and have it do the full 2 hours and see what we can get from it. Sue watched my unboxing video and gave it a like. Larry commented on the video saying, "Well, that was exciting." No, he commented on the video, placed a comment on the unboxing. video. Saturn is at 10 degrees, so it may or may not be visible from the patio yet. As soon as the Iris Nebula is done, we'll hop over, see if we get Saturn. As a matter of fact, I am. Let me see if I can show you. There's the hat. There's the shirt. Palouse is saying, oops, wrong account. Welcome back, Wilbur. Unfortunately, you are late for the show. As soon as Iris Nebula is done within the next 2 or 3 minutes, I plan to hop onto Saturn and then call it a night. I ran 16.2 miles yesterday. And still trying to recover, trying to rest, get some sleep. And Iris definitely needs a lot longer than that. Yeah, we started 9 o'clock as soon as the moon cleared the trees. Plan to do the same tomorrow. The first hour or so tonight we had day 4 audio from Apollo 11. Tomorrow we'll start it with day 5, the landing and the walking on the moon, in celebration of 55 years. It's almost tomorrow. Bill, I'm sure you did not have anybody with you in the same room invoking conspiracy theories and claiming that the astronauts were walking in the desert in Nevada. Which I did in my living room. As the joke goes, 3 conspiracy theorists walk into a bar. Now don't tell me this is a coincidence. Okay, Iris Nebula is done. Let's go to Saturn. Plan finished. Whoa. What do you mean not initialized? This is interesting. When the plan was done, it erased the initialization, so we have to initialize it again. That's new. Hello, Rudy. Let's see if Stellina is going to find Saturn. Rudy, in which time zone do you live? Miami, Florida. Thanks for joining us. There is Saturn. Not too bad. I'm going to grab a video and see if I can stack them. Stop moving on me. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, exit left stage. This concludes our program for tonight. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow right after sunrise to look at the sun. The sunspots were lined up today. They are approaching the equator. And as you probably know, the theory that says when they are perfectly lined up along the equator is when the polarity at the sun's poles flips. About every 11 years, the North Pole becomes the South Pole and vice versa. And that happens when all the sunspots line up. So see you tomorrow with the sunspots, and see you tomorrow evening for the Apollo 11 landing celebration.